Let's make a wrapper and petticoat for Porcelain doll. Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin, and on this channel I teach old-fashioned sewing skills. Usually we work with women's and children's clothing, but we have been doing a series for a couple of years where we make doll clothes. We are working on the still unnamed doll. She's a reproduction doll, so she's not original. And we've been making her a nice little wardrobe. She's late 1860s, especially given her blonde hair. The original that this mold was based off of was a brunette, but I already had a brunette doll, so I specifically asked the maker to make her blonde. And you start seeing this in the late 1860s. I think the earliest doll I've seen with blonde hair, maybe 64, maybe 65, somewhere in there. So we're dressing her as late 1860s. And last month I wasn't sure what I was going to do this month with her. I told everyone to kind of say what they thought in the comments. Several people said, you know, white bodice and skirt, which we are going to do for her eventually, not next month. We're going to come back to her and do her another year, because I think she deserves a really nice Victorian wardrobe. We started a cloth doll last year that I lost in the move. I found it. So we're going to go back to that for at least 6 months next year. But maybe the last 6 months we might continue with her. In the comments, Jennifer mentioned making her a wrapper and a nightgown, which I thought was a really good idea. And then I just recently made myself a new wrapper. And so all the pieces and the shapes are in my brain still, because I finished that yesterday. So I decided, wrapper it is, we're making her a wrapper. The thing is, I am not ready to take off all her underpinnings to dress and undress her, because we're going to make her more outfits, like the white bodice and the silk skirt. We're going to make her a skating outfit next month. So I don't want to have to completely undress her to put her in a nightgown. So instead of doing a nightgown, we will do a nightgown later. We're going to make her wrapper today. And I figured if she's going to have a nice fancy wrapper, she needs a nice fancy petticoat to go underneath. But let's go ahead and get started with the wrapper. Our lovely house guide of pleasure and instruction doesn't include wrappers, so we're going to take a adult pattern and just size it down for her. You might hear some movement. We did have chicks hatched 2 days ago again, so it's like batch number 3 or 4 for us, trying to get some numbers back up. Let's start with this petticoat. So I'm going to make it longer than this one, 11 inches, that looks right, so we'll cut it 12 for a hem. Okay, I'm using some finer fabric because this is supposed to be a very nice petticoat. I think this is cotton lawn. Now, if we were doing an adult petticoat, you would have panels. So we're going to have to make at least 1 or 2 panels, sorry. So the width of the skirt is usually around 36 inches. And because this is a wrapper petticoat, we're going to make it just about that. So I'm going to cut off what I'm going to use as a skirt. Now, when you make a wrapper petticoat, about 1/3 of it is going to be the fancy. You don't want to do the fancy embroidery or tucking or whatever you're doing all the way around the skirt. That's expensive waste of fabric. That's just going to be hidden by the back of your wrapper. So about 1/3 of it needs to be a separate panel, and that'll be the part that's going to be all nice and pretty. So 1/3 of this will be 12 inches. I need a 9.5 inch waistband that's about 3 inches wide. So I now have a waistband, a back panel that has a slit, and a front panel. So I'm going to go iron this, and I'll meet you at the sewing machine. So I have here the center front panel and a length of the ribbon. It's about 1.5-ish in width, so it's longer than the piece. I'm going to match the ends. We're going to just lightly gather it till it fits. And yes, I did gather it by hand. I'm going to sew straight across, and then I'll just keep doing layers. So I'm going to do 5 layers. I think this type of thing always looks better in odd numbers, so 3 or 5. Although for some reason you see a lot of originals with like 4. With how wide my edging is, 5 will actually work a lot better for me. Alright, it looks very much like a dicky or some sort of, I don't know, what do you call those little fluffy things that go in your chest, like for pirates and that sort of thing? That's what it looks like right now. Anyway, so I don't want to make it any extra, so I'm going to cut it just the width of the thing. So I'm not going to gather this side. I waste about 2 inches of that. It's unfortunate. And the reason I don't want to gather this top bit is because this is going to already be gathered, and gathering on top of gathering can just look very full and bulky, and you don't necessarily want that. So again, very lightly gathered. This is our front panel now done. We are using an original machine for this. This is Wilma. hemmed that. So really my next step is going to be turning under this edge to give me a nice strong edge. Actually, I don't think I have to do that because we have a waistband. We can just hide it all in a waistband. I'm going to put a gathering thread in here. I guess that's my next step. Alright, so we have that gathered. It's our waistband. I'm going to fold it in half, find the center. I'll fold this in half and find our center. I'm actually kind of excited she's getting a ruffled wrapper petticoat because there's an late 1850s and early 1860s fashion plate of one, and I've always wanted that petticoat. I even started hand embroidering that petticoat. I think I have a half a panel done, and I gave up, and that was like 6 years ago. I'm pretty sure it's in a Walmart bag somewhere in this house. By hand though, and then while I'm at it, I'm going to put ties in the back of it so I can tie this thing shut. Let's add our ties. Waist may be a little bit big on her, but that's okay. Alright, completed ruffled petticoat. Now let's work on the wrapper. So I'm going to see if I can't, I made a baby dress the other day with this. I'm hoping I can get the rest of the skirt out of this and then like the main bodice, and then do this, the unfitted part, basically. So I made myself a pattern for this. So let's start with the skirt because I'm going to need the largest bit of that. I need this, I need the side front, the back, and the sleeve to be out of the main fabric. I want it to be a little bit longer. Skirt length needs to be 12 inches, which is essentially what this is, right? It's like 10 and a half. Perfect. Okay, it's 12 inches. I'm going to even this up first. Now, I usually been making my skirts for this 36 inches wide, but I only need about I only need a 3/4 of that. So that's the skirt, and that should be about 27-ish inches to 28 inches. Yeah, that's perfect then. The sleeve is fairly extensive. Like, it's a larger sleeve, so yep, that's what it's gonna take. Alright, so for this, I want the edge of this wrapper to be on that bit. But I want this so I can like have a facing. Now if you want a full-size adult version of this, there is a pattern for this. It's a Kay's wrapper, which is what I use for mine. I kind of overlaid my bodice pattern with the pattern to get something that fit me. This little side front piece is literally your front, and you just kind of go about halfway from your shoulder seam, curve down, and that's this whole piece right here. Regular bishop sleeves, regular skirt. The only thing that's weird is this, and that's your neck. Of course, this is I added a facing to it, so I didn't have to sew in a separate piece. So it's that. That's your neckline. And basically whatever your shoulder is, you want to at least double it across so you have enough to gather it in. And this is just from neck, I measure straight down to where I wanted it to end. And it's basically a rectangle. So that's how I came up with the pattern. Alright, let's start on this wrapper. Oops, I dropped all my pens. I'm going to begin with the skirt because that's the easiest thing to start with. the skirt. I'm going to fold this top end under, and I'm going to do gauging thread. That's got to be done by hand. Sleeves. Normally even bishop sleeves are shaped just a tiny bit, especially at the shoulder. But for doll clothes, it doesn't matter. That's going to get gathered at the top and bottom by hand. I have a second one to do. Alright, to start off with on this, I'm just going to top stitch this on top of the lining. Yes, raw edges and everything. Make sure you have a right and a left front, because that's important. Alright, this is going to get put to the side for a moment, but it's basically an unstitched together bodice. So what I need to do first is gauge the skirt. I'm also going to gather the long piece, the contrast piece, just at the shoulder line that needs to be gathered. Actually, there was something I forgot. Darts, first of all, which I did put in, and then normally you would pipe a waistband, but I see binding a lot more on dolls' clothes, probably because piping, it's hard to get the ratios right with piping, or I'm going to bind this whole edge lining and everything. It's starting to look a little bit more like a dress. So, of course, the bodice sewn together. All I did was bind it like we talked about. I gauged the skirt, and now I am figuring out where to put my needle so I can finish gauging the skirt. And I'm doing it like an adult's dress. I'm, whipping each and every plate to the bodice edge. I'm loving this fabric as a dress fabric. I think it's adorable. I need to go buy more of it for like toddler clothes, because this is like the perfect size for it. Okay. Oh yeah, sleeves are done too. I had to recut the cuffs because I cut them too narrow, but they now function as bishop sleeves. And I just made it to where there's a little Greek key at the edge. I thought that was cute for a cuff. Alright, now comes the part where we attach this. Okay, so first we're going to sew this all the way down the skirt. Attaching it to where that raw edge is. Now we're going to fold this over this. Oh, this matches here. I'm going to pin that in place for a second. So now we're going to pull my little gathering thread wherever that went to. There it is. And pull it all tight. Because the arm's eye is so tiny, I'm going to sew the sleeves in by hand. I'm also going to, this facing bit, fold that down so that this is my center front. That I will probably hand stitch down, because you know what? Nope, we're going to stitch it by machine. It's doll clothes. We're going to do it right on the edge here. This is we are keeping the lining and the fashion fabric separate on the front piece only, and I'll just bind that whole edge across. Should probably, yep, gonna do sleeves, facing. I think it's just closures after that. We are gonna make a belt for this. Alright, I am facing the skirt by machine. Get to continue binding the top and putting in sleeves, and I'll meet you back here for the very last step, which will be putting in the closure before we move on to the belt, which I'm hoping will be a fairly quick situation. I have an idea for the belt, I just don't know if I have the tools in which to do it. Alright, we're at the last few steps, finishing the neckline binding and of course closures. Alright, so closures, we're doing hooks and eyes just on the lining. I'm doing the smallest ones that I own. And I'm just doing 3. I'm doing one in the bottom, one in the top, one in the middle. I definitely need more of that fabric. I love it so much. So for the belt, I could cut a self fabric belt. Don't feel like doing that. I'm going to make one out of silk cord. Basically just revolves, twisting silk cord onto itself. I wanted to put tassels on the end, but I'd have to make my own tassels, which I can do. I don't have beads that are small enough that are going to look good on her. So we're going to pretend the knot that I tied is a tassel. Okay then, I think we're done. We can go ahead and see what this all looks like on her. I'm going to put it on over the tucked one. This is a nice fancy petticoat. It can be an over petticoat. And you can always wear more than one petticoat over the hoop. Make sure all that's nice and even. So there's the beautiful petticoat. I really want one like that. I don't need another petticoat. I have too many already. Alright, the wrapper. It's okay if there's gaps, it's a lining. Let's kind of see. Okay, that does fit her really well. That's nice. And this just gets folded over. I could have put a hook and eye right there, but I didn't. Let's see how well this works without it. So the way it looks now is kind of frumpy looking, so that's why we have the belt. And so ideally, that gets shown off. So you have a beautiful little wrapper petticoat. Again, from the back. That is a beautiful little petticoat on her. The whole effect is very nice. Alright, I was kind of hoping to do like a silk wrapper, but I really like the contrast front ones, and I don't have any really pretty silk that would work for that. So we're kind of stuck with the cotton one. But it still turned out really nice. I'm thrilled with that. I think it looks great on her. I love the fabric. I'm just impressed that these two fabrics that have nothing to do together, that I got years apart from each other, work so well together. I mean, the contrast is one of my wrappers for the 1860s we made last year. And then we made baby clothes, or well, I cut baby clothes out. I haven't sewn them up yet because they're coming out in that video doesn't come out for like 2 months. But I cut it out of that. And so I'm just impressed that it looks that good together. Anyway, that is about today's video. thank you for watching as we made our little porcelain doll, her nice petticoat and wrapper. If you'd enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Click that little bell notification so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here in the next video.